So Mike, you are here, I am here.
Yeah.
Let's get this party started, man. I'm sorry to interrupt you guys' like entrepreneurship. You guys had this this great dialogue going. You needed to come together. You guys got to come up with something different than blue to gold, though, because you got to cut Anthony out of it. If you guys are gonna be making whiskey and things of that nature, right? I mean, come on. Like the joke is you can take pictures of the slides, right? So I always say just don't make like blue to platinum.
Right, it's similar but different.
But better.
Yeah, there you go, huh?
All right. So hey guys, just so you guys know, if this is your first time here, we do the search and seizure show. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm in like the Aurora Borealis right now, but it's okay. We're gonna get through it together, right? Because you guys are here, it's valuable. We want to respect your time. So let's get it picked up. John Ween, attorney and legal instructor with Blue to Gold. Mike Boone, instructor with Legal Gold. We are here for the search and seizure show to answer your questions. And basically what we do, if you guys are not familiar with this, bluetogold.com/show, bluetogold.com/show, officers from across the nation submit questions to us and say, hey, here's a fact pattern, here's a situation that we were involved in. Can you guys work through this with us? And what we do is we take those facts and we apply precedent-setting case law to it. If there's other, court analyses that have been done on this, and we walk through it and we try to get you guys a good answer, right? Something to help you to make sure that going forward, you know what to articulate, how to articulate it, so you make good case law for generations of officers to come, all right? And so what we've got here is we've got five questions that were submitted to us by officers across the nation. But what I would primarily like to do is I'd like to rely on the officers who are here. I mean, we've got, over 100 people online right now with us. So if you guys have specific questions, right, throw them out there, ask them. If you guys want to, throw your hand up. I'll come in, I'll turn your mic on so you guys can ask in person and everybody can hear it. Please do make sure that your settings are updated to everyone and not just hosts and panelists. Make sure they're updated to everyone because I want everybody to see the question if you don't have access to a mic. So first things first, if you guys are ready, right? Colby Green raised his hand. All right. So see if I can do this here.
Like that baseball card idea, Sean.
All right, Colby, you are allowed to talk.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we are good.
All right. How's it going, guys? Appreciate your time.
Thanks for being here.
So in my department's policies, when someone's under arrest, obviously before you transport them, you search them before you put them in the vehicle. Makes perfect sense, right? There's kind of an unspoken rule that if they're detained, but they go in the back of the vehicle, you still do it at least a frisk, not a search. But from what I've gathered on a frisk, you have to have reasonable suspicion that a crime has occurred and that they are armed and dangerous to do a frisk. How do I either articulate that I'm putting them in my truck? It's a 20-year-old girl who's wearing spandex, leggings and a halter top. She doesn't have a weapon, obviously, but I'm still supposed to frisk to get that security. Or the crime that I suspect her of isn't weapons related, but I have to do it to put them in my truck. Is there a way to articulate that, or to articulate why I'm not going to do it?
All right. Sounds like good old fashioned Terry to me, going way back when. Terry gives that seminal case and getting to stop people, and what it really gave us was the justification to be able to put hands on and conduct that pat down of a person. And Colby, like you're saying, there's got to be a justification for it. And you talk about the unspoken rule or things that happen in here. What it boils down to is armed and dangerous. For you to be able to pat down or conduct the open hand frisk of a person there, that's kind of the burden that was set in Terry. And if we go way back into the 60s into downtown Cleveland, Ohio, when Detective McFadden was hanging out, doing his thing on the street corner there, watching on the early afternoon, October 31st, Halloween night there, and he saw, John Terry and his cohorts there walking around back and forth in front of the building up to a dozen times. He made that stop. Okay, he made that stop based on reasonable suspicion, and at the time we were either based on consent or probable cause. So that was huge in policing, but what he also did is he put hands on people. And, the question came down to is, was that allowed? And he ended up pulling guns off 2 out of the 3 guys, and the courts allowed it because he believed that there was a potential robbery going to take place. And so the articulation, the justification that they're potentially armed and dangerous was what the courts were looking at. So when you talk about putting hands on somebody and boiling it down to frisking a person, that's still the measure is, can you articulate they're armed and dangerous? What do you think, John?
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because you guys have to, as police officers, you have to work in the real world, right? And policy, all kinds of different factors. Is it a good practice? Sure. But so is the idea of I frisk everybody I contact, right? And we know that that's not okay. So when we're talking about a frisk, when we're talking about a search, those are governmental actions that implicate the Fourth Amendment. And so legal standards have to be met in order to justify those, or they're going to be held to be unreasonable. And so if you're going to frisk somebody, you need specific articulable facts more than a mere hunch to believe that they're armed and dangerous. If you're going to search someone, you need to have probable cause to believe that they are, doing something like committing a crime, basically. And you need to have that recognized exception, like search incident to custodial arrest, whatever it is you're relying on, right? The issue is if you are just doing this, and maybe you would have some articulation in a specific case, but most officers, their articulation is going to be because policy says I have to. Right. And that is never going to save the day. That's never going to save you. That's never going to save your agency. And so if you're going to frisk somebody, you need to have specific articulable facts that they're armed and dangerous. If they are going in your car to be detained, right? That's best practice, man. That's best practice. That's gonna keep you out of trouble. Can you, I've heard the argument before that a police vehicle is a custodial facility. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think that's going to fly. It's a hard option. Could you make the argument that it's an administrative search, meaning it's reasonable in its scope? There's a significant governmental interest in this practice, and it's for a non-investigatory purpose. You could make that argument, but I think it's going to fail when you guys start pulling stuff off of people.
Okay.
And Colby, I think you made a point too. You're talking about the female that's dressed in spandex, and there's no reasonable articulation that she's got a weapon on her. Those are some of those factors you got to take into keep in mind there. That's for sure.
No.
Maybe I can give just a little bit more detail that might. So I work in a small town, right? Usually there's me and my partner on at one time. Mm-hmm. If we have 5 or 10 juveniles who are all fighting and we go and try and detain them and they take off down the road on foot, I have to put them in my truck to take them down where my partner is with the other kids.
Right. Does
that change anything at that point? Or
now you're talking about additional factors there. Now you're talking about the nature of the crime itself. There's violence involved. There's multiple suspects, and now you're talking about you and your partner, the only 2 people out there working. So this measure, but this reasonableness always comes down to the totality of the circumstance. Okay. That you hear us talking about. And it's just that I don't know if you're listening earlier, you talk about those 5 factors, or strive for 5, and using that great word because all the time, those, you just threw out a whole bunch of different indicators in that circumstance that may justify exactly what you're looking to do.
Okay, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Colby still there? Colby out, right?
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Colby.
Cool. All right. All right, Sean, you got something for us, brother? Sean, you tease. I saw this. I interpreted that as a thumbs up, or as like raising my hand. That was just a rock fist. Yeah. You're just like, I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, no, Sean's busy designing the flask and the exterior of the bar right now. He's got things to do, right, Sean?
No, he's gunning for a position, lead marketing, blue to gold, law enforcement training. Mm-hmm. Mike Boone approved.
Oh, he's 3D printing. There you go.
The signature series.
That's technology right there. That thing will be out for sale tomorrow.
All right. Well, if nobody else has one right now, I'll go to the treasure trove here. All right. The first question from an officer in Kansas. Is it reasonable to assume that an individual in the driver's seat of a running but stationary vehicle in a gas station parking lot has been driving the vehicle, even if he has not been directly observed to be driving? Okay, little fact pattern here. While on routine patrol, an officer observes a running but stationary vehicle in the parking lot of a gas station. There is an individual sitting in the driver's seat. After running the tags, the registration comes back as invalid,
I don't want
suspended.
to cut you off, but Tim, will you pop on the mic and walk us through this? Tim's on here, and that's Tim's question.
No, Tim had his chance.
What? Oh, come on. Tim, will you come on? I think Tim, come on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh,
Tim.
nice.
Well, you basically read most of it. Context is that ran his tags, ran the registered owner attached to the tag. Both came back suspended. The vehicle was on, but it wasn't moving. I didn't actually see him drive. Would it have been reasonable to assume that he was actually driving? And this is at a gas station.
Well, you're at a gas station, right?
Yep.
How the hell did you get there, right? So I think earlier in the day, or the last class, somebody said whether it fall, the UFO or the car fall out of the sky or something like that, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty dang reasonable. And I think we didn't finish up reading the question, but you made contact with the driver, right? And you said, hey, where are you going or where are you coming from? Something like that, correct?
Yeah, he denied that he was actually driving the vehicle, but when I asked him before that, he said he was going somewhere. Well, that seems inconsistent with what he said later.
Because you made the justification for the stop was what, expired registration, I think, if that sounds about right. Yeah, make contact with this guy. And I think about a convenience store, a gas station. There's probably 1, 2 access points to the public roadway. You don't usually live at the gas station. People are usually in and out pretty quickly, type stuff. And usually if somebody stays there for a long time, though, then the convenience store probably get irritated or call us anyway. So I think when you start, again, looking at that totality of circumstances, it's pretty reasonable to think that, he was the one there. He's in the driver's seat when you make contact with him. And then, that admittance of I'm going to my friend's house or coming to my friend's house, whatever it was. I don't see an issue with that. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, not at all, right? When we talk about probable cause, although courts are not giving it a strict legal definition, it's a fair probability that this subject is engaged in the criminal activity alleged, right? The specific criminal activity. And so you say, is there a fair probability that this dude drove the car here? If you took a reasonable, ordinary person and said, this is the factual, not legally specific, but factual, reasonable things that people rely on. Yeah, I mean, the dude drove the car. And so you've got PC, absolutely. You got probable cause to arrest him for these, they are criminal violations, right? Suspended license.
I think registration, and then I'll find out. Yeah, Timmy had a suspended license. Is that right?
And so you've definitely got
Yeah,
reason.
they're both misdemeanors.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So there you go. Right. Now, is that going to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt? Is a defense attorney going to be able to get him off because he's going to say, "Hey, did you ever see him drive?" I don't know. Maybe, but you've got your PC, so you can hook him up, and then you can conduct your additional investigation. It's going to be nothing more than a security camera footage of him pulling into the parking spot of his gas station, and you're good, right?
Hey, Tim.
Thank you.
Something that I think we talked about before was that case Kansas versus Glover that came out 2-3 years ago. I think it was like 2019, something like that, where the cops ran the license plate. It came back as the driver having a suspended driver's license, and they effectuated the stop based on that information. He was the registered owner. He did have a suspended license, but he fought this thing, and the courts end up looking at this as like, it's registered to this guy. It's registered to the person that has this car. Is that reasonable to think, in most circumstances, you're the one driving your car if it's registered to you? But the courts did make a stipulation in that is, well, unless there is contrary information or something like, you run it and it's registered to John Ween and he's cruising along and there is a female driving the car, the sole occupant in there. Now that's going to be contrary to what the information you have. The court said, hey, take that into consideration. But if it's like kind of looking at that totality of stuff going on there, I think everything we said, we're good to go.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim. Are we giving stuff to Tim tonight? Are we giving stuff out to people? besides the flask and the baseball cards and whatever else we made up in the interim.
All right. Anybody else? Private property offenses? Okay. All right. Next question. Nevada. Okay, Nevada, yeah, Nevada officer. It says, I'm a Nevada Department of Alternative Sentencing officer. Is that like probation, Mike?
It's similar to that from what I understand. It's I work in the southern part of the state, but it's a program in the northern part of the state that it's similar-ish, but I think it's a little bit more guided to getting people back on their feet too.
Okay. You've seen a bunch of videos about probation in California. California's kind of weird, right? I deal with misdemeanor probation and search and seizure a lot, and I hear our dispatch advise sheriff deputies that someone is on Department of Alternative Sentencing with search and seizure, and the deputies perform a search of that person without DAS's consent. I'm gathering that regular patrol cops need to contact the probation department and give reasonable suspicion and get permission to search. Okay, so the question is this, right? If I stop somebody and I run them and I find out they're on DAS as a patrol officer, can I search based on that, or do I need to, number one, contact the probation department and explain it and get permission from them? I will tell you, my state, Arizona, I need that probation officer with me. It's not even like I can't call the probation office and say, hey, confirming this dude's on probation and he's given up his rights to be out free. I can get in there, right? I mean, it's like I got to be acting in conjunction with that probation officer. What about Nevada?
Good thing. Same thing here in Nevada. I talked to one of my DPS cohorts not too long about this, and yeah, you make that contact with them, explain your justification for the contact, what circumstances are going on, and they'll relay that information to you. And like you said, they got to come out and do their thing. And this, it's an on-scene thing. Now, like I say, mentioned California, they're a lot more lenient in this, and there's California's kind of got it way figured out in doing so. But yeah, this is coming from Nevada, so same thing as you down there in Arizona. Make contact, have them come out there and handle business for you. Yeah,
it's always surprising for me when you go to those states and they're like, well, but the guy's on probation, so get in there. And I'm like,
yeah, hold up.
Yeah, like, okay, right. If your state's cool with that, right? Yeah.
Hey, Colby and Tim, if you're still here, email Rick and we'll send you a coin for getting on the mic. That's the high stakes offering for tonight. You all jumping on the mic tonight. They're sending you a blue to gold coin. I had one earlier. Where'd it go? I mean, check it out. Ooh, look at that, huh? Yeah. If that's not incentive, I don't know what is.
Right. So, Mike is going off the rails. He's like, whatever you guys want, mugs, flasks, we're handing them out. Right. Just send Richard an email. He's going to take care of it.
Yeah. Rick, can you drop your email in there from? There you go. Everything must go.
All right, I'm sending it out, and I don't know. It's like everybody. He's
Richard at blue2gold.com.
Right. Richard's gonna get like 73 emails tomorrow. Be like, hey, I asked a question. Yes, I was on the phone. What did you commit? Rick, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it, Richard. Mike's got it all under control.
Got it under control, Rick. We got flasks. All kinds of merchandise going out, baseball cards, and for Colby and Tim, Colby and Tim are getting coins. They're gonna email you.
This is gonna be like Oprah. You get one. You get one. Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one.
Right. Everybody gets one.
Free cars. Yeah, free cars. They might not have engines, but they're free.
All right. Anybody else? Online people, we got a question, or we going back to the vaults? All right, Stephen, are you raising your okay? He was. I didn't know if you were waving or if this was like Sean. Okay. Nope. Nicole's got one. All right. Nicole, Stephen, do you have a question?
They're into that. I want a coin. Everybody wants to talk.
Stephen has a question. Stephen, we're answering your question first, and then Nicole. All right.
Who's up first?
If you go on the mic, you get preference. That's right. And you get a
Got
challenge, apparently. And flasks.
Hey,
Hey, guys, I appreciate you listening to my question.
Steven.
Hey, we had a guy come out of a hotel here in Virginia.
Hang on, y'all. Where you at, Steven?
Virginia.
Hey, that's where I was born. I was born down in Norfolk, Virginia, way back when.
I'm in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley here in Virginia.
No,
We
Virginia's,
had a guy, excuse me?
Virginia's for lovers, my friend.
That's a fact. Yes, sir.
How can we help you tonight?
We had a guy come out of a hotel and fire 7 rounds just out into nowhere out of a 9mm pistol. We found the rounds. We contacted our Commonwealth attorney, and she stated to us to get the hotel staff to open the door to his room and go ahead and search, because he has a limited expectation of privacy due to the staff having access to the room. And every case law I've researched says that is 100% incorrect.
Well, case law wins there, my friend. Wow, really? That's interesting. So, okay. So 7 rounds out of the Motel 7, because we'll upgrade it since he said he popped off 7 rounds, right? Okay, well, think about this. He's a lawful tenant. It sounds like he's probably paying his, $8 a night to stay there. So you got a little unruly. Yeah, he's got an expectation of privacy in there. And for your counsel there to tell you to basically employ the manager of that as your agent to make entry in there, I do have a little bit of concern with that. Now, is there a legal justification for getting there? Well, maybe. Is there an exigency? Are we concerned about people being injured inside? I know he came outside and popped off rounds. But that guy still got an expectation of privacy, even in the Motel 7. Yeah, I have concerns about grabbing the manager saying, "Hey, let us in here to go handle business." Any other thoughts on that one, John? That's interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, so there's a lot of factors to consider, right? A lot of information. There's some questions that I would have. I'll send this case out to everybody.
Oh, that one's a great one. That Shaw case. You want to tell that story? Because that was good thinking right there. That Shaw case.
But yeah, so there's a lot of different factors going on, right? So first off, we say if we go into a hotel or a motel room, that's a temporary lodging. That's a place that a person has a high expectation of privacy, right? A high Fourth Amendment protection in that area. And so the question is, what is our recognized exception for going in there? First off, is there exigency? Do we have this emergency aid doctrine, right? Do we have an objectively reasonable basis to believe that there's an emergency occurring inside this room? Or are we just going in there to arrest someone? If we're just going in there to arrest someone, well, then that's an issue, not insurmountable, but potentially an issue. Another case that I absolutely love is Ryburn versus Huff. Let's see if I can pull that one up for you. But Ryburn versus Huff, basically what the court said, the United States Supreme Court said, is if you have an objectively reasonable basis to believe that violence is imminent, if you have an objectively reasonable basis to believe that violence is imminent, then you can make a warrantless entry into a home to address that issue, right? And so is the guy, it sounds like based on what Steven's telling us, the guy is like gone and in custody and he's been addressed, right? And I'm just picking that up. Maybe that's inaccurate. That's what in context, that's what it sounded like. And so if that's the case, then you've got issues, because if you're not relying on exigency because of the objectively reasonable basis to believe that the threat of violence is imminent, and if you don't have the emergency aid doctrine where you think that there's an ongoing emergency inside that room, and again, if you're relying on emergency aid, you go in, you address the emergency, and then you stop, right? Any plain view, you're good, but you certainly don't search for anything. And so I look at this and I say, how are we getting into that room? Another question that I had is, here's a question, right? What about this one, Mike? We're hooking the dude up in the parking lot, right? And he's going in the car and manager comes out and says, "Hey, is that the guy who was shooting the gun?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Hey, you're evicted. You're out of here. I don't want you staying here. We'll refund your money, whatever. Don't come back. I'll put your shit in storage," right? Has he, hotels, motels, they have a common law right of eviction, right? And
ejected for cause. And I'm sure even the Motel 7 doesn't appreciate rounds popped up in the parking lot. Just
Right.
saying, I haven't lived in Virginia in a long time. You correct me if I'm wrong, but it probably wouldn't like it.
Right. And so now he's been evicted from the room, so he no longer has a reasonable expectation of privacy in the room itself. He is still going to retain those reasonable expectations of privacy in his bags and things like that. And so your ability to search those is going to depend on a warrant or the hotel or motel's policy. You would just be acting in accord with their policy. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, unless he abandoned the room, maybe. I don't know. We're missing a lot of details, Stephen. What do you think? Any of those different routes applicable here?
Yeah, you really cleared it up. I honestly thought my Commonwealth attorney was mistaken when she told me that. So I went and did a lot of research, and you just confirmed my suspicions 100%. So I'm very, very grateful.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
just appreciate it, sir. Make sure you email Rich. Get your coin. You too get one of these.
All right. Now, there were people raising hands. Okay, Stephen, we answered. Nicole has a question. All right, Nicole, we're gonna address Nicole's, right? All right. Okay, I'm gonna answer Nicole's here. Nicole.
Coming on.
Oh yeah, Nicole, do you wanna talk, Nicole?
Hell yeah, she does. Come on, Nicole.
That's right. That's right. See, it's going off the rails. This Anthony's gonna get off his plane and watch this and be like, what have I done?
He gave us the keys of the castle. You know,
That's what I'm saying. The cat's away, the mouse is gonna play. Nicole, what do you got for us?
Hi, I just have a question. So if you pull, say, two people out of a car during a car stop and the driver is the registered owner and he gives you permission to search the whole car, can you search everything in the car, including, say, like if the passenger has a purse in the car? Are you allowed to search her purse?
Nicole, the quick short answer is no. And here's why. So you said the registered owner you take out, and you're asking that registered owner to give consent to search that car, right? So they can give you consent to search anywhere they have access, dominion, control over inside that car, which is going to be most everything inside that car since it's their car. However, if you've got a passenger inside there and they have items belonging to them, well, then that driver doesn't have any authority over that bag. They don't have the ability to give you consent to look inside there because that person has a reasonable expectation of privacy in their purse, their bag, whatever it may be. So no, in a consent search, the driver cannot give you consent to search some things that they don't have any authority over.
So then what if neither one of them claims ownership of something in the car?
Ooh. Abandon it, my friend. So and here's something, so a great question. So here's something that we like to talk about at Blue to Gold. You know, is that your bag? Is that yours? You know, yes, no, whatever it may be. We like to say, and everybody, dramatic pause, here it comes. Do you have anything to do with that bag? And you're going to get a better interest, or you're going to get a better, Steve, I'm reading your thing. You're going to get a better answer in that. Do you have anything to do with it? Well, yeah, it's my wife's purse. I'm just sitting here holding on to it while she's shopping. So if you ask this question, hey, do you have anything to do with this bag that's in the back seat here? No, it's not mine. I don't have anything to do with it. I've never seen it before in my life. No, it's not mine. Well, effectively, they've taken verbal measures to disclaim ownership or to show that they don't have any ties to that bag, and it's abandoned. I'll have to think of the case. There was a case, I think out of Pennsylvania somewhere, where that's basically that happened. Both occupants of the vehicle disclaimed ownership of the bag. They searched it, and inside the bag, they found an ID card and I think drugs and a gun inside there that tied it to one of the occupants in that vehicle. And the argument was it was abandoned, and the court said, yeah. What do you think, John? Anything else? What am I missing?
Oh, I think it's good. I think you're right on the money. I mean, basically what you're going to try to do is, first off, people can only consent to things over which they have a property interest, right? Over things that they have a dominion control. So I can't give you consent to search things that I have no control over. Like I can't give you consent to search my my buddy's backpack if he would, you know, I can't search it, so I can't let you do it. If you have reason to believe that there is something in that vehicle that belongs to a certain individual, then you have an obligation to seek out the owner of that and confirm that the consent is valid as to it. Treat consent like a gift, right? Courts treat it with a great degree of deference, and you should too. The onus is going to be on you to convince that trier of fact that you had freely and voluntarily given consent to search whatever item you're given. And if you look in the purse and there's a male and there's a female, and the female is the passenger and there is a purse at her foot, and the driver says, yeah, you can go ahead and search that vehicle, that absolutely does not also include that purse. Because can you say that that female freely and objectively gave you consent to search that? No, right? And the onus, the burden is going to fall to you to convince the court that you had that. So be very, very careful with consent.
And since we're talking about Brooks brings up a good point here. So your question, Nicole, was about consent, and I think we've covered that. Now Brooks throws out something there. Well, what if you've got PC to search the car? So let's say you've got PC to search that car for narcotics, because why not, right? I worked dope for a long time, so that's always where I go back to is dope. You know, theoretically. So yeah, if you have PC to search that car and you meet all the criteria for an automobile exception there, and that bag or that purse or that item could contain it, within the scope of the search, then yes, you can search it under a probable cause search of a vehicle. But that's significantly different than that granting consent by someone that doesn't have authority over it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Make sure you email Rick. Get your bling.
All right, now. Cooper.
Making you work tonight, Rick. I like it.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Got you, Cooper.
Hey, how's it going? I'm coming from Arizona, so this
Oh,
is
no.
probably going to be a question for John.
Oh, no.
This has to do with
Yell out your window.
firearms.
Just yell out your window. John can hear you.
Hey, this is going to be a question relating to firearms and a seizure, and I guess what it would be considered as. So, obviously in Arizona, the way the law is written is pretty generous to us as far as temporarily seizing a firearm. And all it says is during any contact with somebody, as long as it's lawful. Am I on the right track, John?
Well, I think I know where you're going, so let's talk about it, because this is
All right.
Yeah, this is something I'm very passionate about. So let's get to it.
Absolutely. Okay. So this is going to be specific to traffic stops. So we contact somebody, it's a lawful traffic stop. Let's say it's for a civil violation. Someone's mouthing off, or just really we don't have any particular reason we can seize a firearm. We do see it in plain view and they say, hey, I'm not giving it to you. Obviously it's not the felony statute as far as them not telling us in it, but I'm curious, what right do we have to where it's, I guess, still in the guidelines of that, to where it's not a seizure? Can we reach in and grab it and say, no, we're temporarily seizing that? I'm just kind of curious as far as where it would fall within being a seizure, or like a lawful temporary, I guess, seizure is the right way to put it for that.
Beautiful. All right, so let's walk through this, man. And this is something you're going to encounter, right? So this is real life stuff right here. So in Arizona, right, we have misconduct involving weapons. And what that says is when you are contacted by a law enforcement officer, right? When you're contacted by a law enforcement officer, during that contact, if a law enforcement officer contacts a person, they can take temporary custody of that firearm for the duration of the contact, right? Now,
Yes.
understand something, right? Contacted by a law enforcement officer means a lawful traffic or criminal investigation, arrest, or detention, or investigatory stop, okay? So you're good there because you've got the traffic stop, right? Basically what the statute is doing is it is distinguishing detention from consensual encounter. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right, so we're in the realm of the detention. We're in the realm of an investigatory stop. We're in the realm of non-consensual, whatever it may be, right? All right, so during that traffic stop, you can absolutely take control and possession of that firearm for the duration of the stop. Absolutely. Now, you are telling me they are saying that you can't take the gun out of the car. That should be a huge red flag for you, right? Because everybody knows we want to be safe. Traffic stops are scary, and there seems to be this general consensus that law enforcement is using excessive force all the time, at least in the media, right? So you can order people in and out of the vehicle. Pennsylvania versus Mims, Maryland versus Wilson, Arizona versus Johnson, right? Arizona versus Johnson, straight from the homeland there for you. You can order people in and out of a vehicle, and really the courts say for any reason. You don't even have to articulate it because traffic stops are inherently dangerous, and so you can just do it. Now, should you articulate a reason? Absolutely. Every time. If I'm going to order somebody in and out of a vehicle, I'm going to tell you why in my report. And so if they say, no, you're not taking my gun, order them out of the vehicle. If they don't, well, now they are violating the law. Agreed? Because they are failing to comply with the lawful order. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess too, my second part of this question was along the same rail. Let's say you contact somebody, lawful contact, they're in their doorway, they're not we don't ask them to exit yet, but let's say they refuse to exit. You see a gun sitting, within arm's reach, on a nightstand or whatever by the door. I would assume because it, like you said, I mean, it's written so vaguely, I feel like it's intentionally written vaguely, saying you can legally, temporarily seize a firearm. Would that basically be the same thing too, as it's a home, even if it was breaching that threshold and temporarily seizing it?
Whoa. I'm going to say pump the brakes there, right? First off, I want to go back to the traffic stop, right? I got people, we got, there's a hot button issue here, and Anthony, he likes guns. So, we can talk about that. Anthony is here.
Oh, party crasher.
Right?
Mm.
Okay. There he is. Look at that. All right. So you can take temporary custody of the firearm for the duration of the stop. If they refuse to give it to you, then they've violated the law, right? If they're refusing to give it to you, if they're refusing to exit the vehicle, that's filed to comply with the lawful order, right? So now you've got PC for their arrest. Can you unload the firearm before you give it back to them? What do you think?
I'm going to say yes, for it's articulable officer safety. I don't think that would be like an additional search or anything.
Right. Well, and I mean, you could argue that it is because you're physically manipulating it. So you're touching arguably with the, but do I have the intent to gather information? I don't know. Right. But yeah, you're good, right? I think you're good. That's accepted practice. You have a reason for doing it. It's in a non-investigatory purpose. You're not actually trying to gather evidence. No, I wouldn't disassemble the firearm just because I think that's a dick move. But I know that some people did. No, I mean, right? Like the guy's got like a $2,000 1911, and now it's got idiot scratches on it because you felt the need to disassemble his firearm. I mean, most 9 times out of 10, the Arizonans are cool about guns, right? We understand. We're gonna let you take the gun. We don't have anything to hide about it, right? So one thing that did come up a lot, though, there was this question, and I want to pick your brain on this, Cooper. What do you think about this, man? Is you pull that firearm out of the holster, right? Can you run the serial number on that? What do you think?
Who you asking?
I'm
I
asking.
know this has been a hot topic. I'm going to say if it's just a traffic stop and you have nothing else, probably you're going to err on the side of no, because it's going to extend the stop.
Okay. What do you think, Mike?
Wait, hang on. I think Anthony's here, right? I see him.
Yeah.
Here's Anthony.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can tell we were talking about guns. You're like, I hear guns.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes, and I
Okay.
feel there's guns being spoken about in the world, so I must.
Yeah. So here's my answer on this. I do not think that now if pulling out the gun from the holster, well, if you can unload it, which I think John kind of said that you can, I do agree with that. And if the serial number is in plain view, then you have access to that information. But I don't see how if we're going to extend a traffic stop to run a firearm, what gives us the right to do that? Why is that gun and running it through NCIC have anything to do with speeding?
Okay, so let's say we don't extend the traffic stop. I pass it off to my partner as I continue my investigation.
I think you're good to go. I think that's what you should do. You know, because I don't know how you say with a straight face, if you extend that traffic stop, how it's related. And, you know, there's a lot of anti-gun judges out there that will bend over backwards to uphold anything related to a gun. But if it goes to a higher level, like the appellate court, where they have some reflection on the Constitution and they care about actually making law for everybody, I don't see how. I mean, what if it was a laptop and we're running the laptop for NCIC? I know a gun's a little different, but the point is we shouldn't be extending it.
Yeah. And I think Cooper's right on that. I mean, he was the one who brought up the extension, right? Now Phil said it's a separate search. Was the gun lawfully possessed? Well, Phil, we don't know if the gun's lawfully possessed until we run it, right? I mean, unless the guy's a felon, right? Then we know that. Or well, even if he's a felon, we don't know, because he could have had his rights reinstated, right?
Well, I mean, look, if he comes back as a felon, we have probable cause that he is a prohibited person. Even if he has a pardon that wasn't entered into the system, we don't know that at the time. So it's a fair probability he's a prohibited person. So I don't think that's going to be the issue. The issue is going to be when we know nothing about this guy and we can run him. We do know that, you know, even the Ninth Circuit said that we can. Well, John's in the Ninth Circuit too.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Arizona. So the Ninth Circuit also recently said, I forget the case, but in this year they said that, you know, doing a criminal history check on a driver is permissible during the routine traffic stop. The passengers, of course, is a little different.
Yeah. So I put a case in here for you guys. Cooper, check this out. It's United States versus Shipley, 2017 case. I think the Ninth Circuit, I don't know if they reviewed it or if they turned it down in 2019, if they denied certiorari or whatever in 2019, but you know, it's an interesting case. And basically the guy they think he's imitating a police officer, and they run the serial number. And there's this discourse that says, yeah, running the serial number itself is a separate search and you need to have justification for it. I disagree with the court's rationale, and
No.
yeah, I don't like it.
That doesn't work. If we lawfully have that information, that serial number really is no different than a license plate number. I mean, or the one thing that teach John, I know this is a little bit more finicky, but when you ask a passenger for their ID, right? You can ask. I mean, I've not seen any court case out there that says you can't ask. In fact, I've seen the opposite. It's just that the running them is a little tricky, because again, are you extending a traffic stop to run for an unrelated reason? And well, at least I know the Ninth Circuit. Well, a district court in the Ninth Circuit in Nevada says that it's really not related to safety. I'm not sure if I agree with that either. But once you have their OLN, their ID number, then if you don't extend it, then we can run them, right? I mean,
And this is
if you pass off to.
This is my purpose, right? I mean, you can run a license plate. Why? Because it's there, it's visible, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
are firearms more heavily regulated than vehicles?
Probably not, actually. I mean, that's, I guess I gotta. I don't think so.
Public exposure, no, less
Are
public,
they?
but yeah, I don't know.
I guess maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but cars are not a constitutional right, so that kind of throws me off a little bit. But
Yeah.
you know, to get the gun is obviously, to get the gun is more highly regulated, but to have the gun, I don't think it's as highly regulated. But anyway, I guess that's a different topic. But
Yeah, we're going far afield. We could have a whole, let's just do an 8-hour class on firearms for every state. Cooper, your add-on to this, right? Now that we've gone all over the place, hopefully it was helpful, but your add-on to this was you go up, you knock on a door, dude opens the door, he's kind of hostile, kind of shady, kind of being a dick, and there's a gun sitting right next to him. Can I go in and grab the gun? Whole lot of questions that I need answered, man. Whole lot of questions that I need answered, right? First off, why are you at the door? You know, I mean, are you going up and you're doing a knock and talk? Are you going up, you know?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't have a particular scenario, but I mean, just kind of cover, but I agree. I mean, I guess it would just have to be articulable as what is the actual basis of the contact, you know, so.
So let's assume for argument's sake, you're lawfully up there knocking on their door, right? Ryburn versus Huff is the case I'd like you to check out.
Yep.
And basically what they said is you can go in, right? Because there's exigency if there's an objectively reasonable basis to believe that violence is imminent. Violence is imminent. And so you would have to convince that judge that based on your interaction with him, he is like, you're like, man, he's going to go for that gun. You sell me on that, then you're good. Obviously, if you're there for a legitimate purpose and there is some, relatively serious crime that you're investigating, I think it's going to be easier.
I agree.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be a hard sell, though. I mean, that's gonna be a hard sell to go in there.
Yeah, I mean, Robert versus Huff, obviously that went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. So,
And that's a school shooting. Yeah,
Yeah, there's
go ahead.
famous to commit violence, commit shootings, correct? I think.
right, yeah, and then you
Yeah.
take the spirit of the crime, it doesn't get any higher than that, right?
No,
No,
but yeah. But just because a guy, I want to be careful with the cops. Just because you've got a guy who, is getting a little pissed off that his government is at his doorstep, inquiring about his activities. I mean, with Ryburn, she was like, she did a 180 and started going for the house, and the cops felt like it was like a now or never situation. I don't know. I mean, there's gonna be, if you see the guy going for the gun, obviously you got to do what you got to do. But if he, sounds like also if he doesn't want you there, then you should turn around and leave.
I agree.
Yep.
Hey, Anthony, just to bring you up to speed on where Blue to Gold has gone. So Sean's on here, of course, and we've got flasks, Blue to Gold flasks, Blue to Gold whiskey coming out, and baseball cards. So Sean is
So
right now.
Now, I do want to kind of interject, and I do want to thank John and Mike for helping me, hold down the fort here. I just got done teaching a class in Minneapolis at the actually the class was at the airport with the Minneapolis St. Paul Airport Police.
Nice.
So now I'm in the Delta Lounge, and people ask me what I'm drinking. I'm actually at the brand new Delta Sky Lounge, and it's like off the hook here, and my flight leaves like in an hour. See, John doesn't know about these kind of things because he flies Spirit Airlines when he does his Blue to Gold classes. Which have you ever seen a Spirit Airlines airport lounge? It's the vending machine.
Yeah. Well, something about bougie. There was something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You're a little bougie too, John. Don't act like you're bougie. Look at that 3-piece suit you got on. You're missing one piece of it, but you got a 3-piece.
Who says I'm wearing pants?
Yeah.
I love it. Exactly. Mike isn't.
Not a chance. Who was that? Is that you, Sean, talking about Anthony Bandiero rookie card? Yeah, that would be priceless.
No, definitely rookie is the key word. Well, we got a serious customer on the line. What's up, Ken?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, my
Ken,
friend.
how are you?
I'm calling from the great state of Nebraska tonight.
Right.
I love Nebraska. Yeah.
My question has to do with DV, and for example, let's say the DV happens in the front yard, or it's a rolling DV, and the people get to their house, and our suspect goes into the house, and our victim is outside, and obvious, the DV is obvious. There's blood, let's say, for example, on her face.
Yep.
Can we go in searching for that suspect, basing a lot of it on the destruction of evidence exception? Is that a good standby to go in?
Who's going first? We got a lot of people on the line here. Who's going?
John, you want to take a first stab at this, or you want me to go?
You go, Anthony. We've been here for hours.
All right, look, and actually, let me show you, this is I'm in those, they got these telephone booths. Have you ever seen these, John, these telephone booths where you go in there and have, the Spirit Airlines has
I
these.
can see it when I walk by. The door opens for a second. I look in there like, ooh, that looks nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Not for you.
Walking down to the vending
Yeah,
machine.
they're like, beat it, you Spirit Airlines connoisseur. So that's why it looks kind of weird, because the desk is kind of low. But anyway, let me take a stab at this. Based on these very limited facts, a blood trail. We already have the blood outside. I'm not sure why we have to collect the blood. I just, it's not a real, it's not a hard sell for me. I don't personally feel very compelled to get in there for that reason alone. But let me just share with you what I think is kind of going on here. I think that if you have the victim outside and you have probable cause that he or she, right? But normally it's the she, that she is the victim of domestic violence, The next question is, all right, can you access him, right? If you can get consent from her, for example, right? And she says, yeah, go in and get him, right? And you can walk into that house. As long as he does not say no, do not enter before you step past that threshold. Once you get past the threshold, you're in. He goes with you, even if he's in a back bedroom. That's the way I view it, because the primary invasion of privacy has already been conducted. It's already been done. But if he's like at the window or he's at the security door and he says, hey, get the hell out of my house, I don't want to talk to you, whatever, you can't go with consent. That's Georgia versus Randolph. The next exception in line is actually exigency. And the way that I call this, that somebody's saying freshly committed crime. There is no freshly committed crime exception in the Fourth Amendment, just so you know. You still need exigency, right? And the exigency, the way I look at this is that if she wants to re-enter her home, she has a right to do that. This guy does not have a right to keep her out of her own home. And the next thing is, if she goes in there alone, will she likely be battered and abused by him? The answer is yes, especially with the blood trail. Wait, John and Mike, what my analogy on here is the guardian angel theory. I just think that the cops become the guardian angel, because, and I have case law that kind of support this idea. But the thing is, like, if the courts say no, you can't go in, blah blah blah, there's no exigency, then they're saying that, hey, you go in by yourself. If you need us, just give us a call back to 911. I don't think courts really are going to tell her that she has to take a risk like that. I think that she gets to go back in her home and not have to wait 2 hours for a piece of paper, say a search warrant, or actually an arrest warrant in this case. That's my thinking on this, guys.
Oh, 100% agree. I mean, what right does he have to exclude her from her home?
Yeah.
Just throw environmental conditions in. It's cold outside, she's got nowhere to go. Well, that's her damn house,
Yeah.
She go in there. That's her place. So yeah.
Now, John, can I throw a monkey wrench in for you? Let's say that she is outside. She said she's been battered. He doesn't want to play ball, so we don't have consent from him. And she's like, you know what? I got to tell you, I don't really want to go back into that house. I'm actually done for tonight. I'm going to go to my sister's house. She goes to her sister's. Can we still go in there and get him? Forget the evidence argument, okay? I'm not really, with the very limited facts, I don't think that there's agency to get any evidence at this point. But can we still go in there and wrap him up? And
Bottom line is,
what do you think?
why are we going in there? Are we going in there to arrest him?
Yes.
We're going in to conduct a warrantless arrest.
But John, I got to tell you, it's a felony, okay? In this state, it's going to be a felony. It's substantial bodily harm. There's blood outside. There is nobody else inside that house, so I don't want to let you think that there's kids in there and there's no gunplay. But look, it is a serious crime, John. We have to go in there and get him. Do you agree?
It sounds like a serious violent felony.
It is, John.
Right?
We have to go in there and get him. Do you agree?
No.
Why not?
We can't go in there.
Why not?
Because
What case law do you have?
the severity of the crime doesn't allow entry.
Peyton killed the guy, Anthony. Get off my back.
Talking
Talking
about
about
Peyton.
Peyton?
Are we going Peyton versus New York? Is that what we're relying on here?
I think that's what Mike says.
United
Kill
States
the guy.
Supreme Court?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wait, Sean's one of my most astute students. Sean, based on my devil's advocate to John, are you saying that we can go in based on felony alone? You better correct yourself before you wreck yourself.
Better rein that in, Sean.
No, look. I know a lot of cops feel very emotionally, morally compelled to go in there and grab him because he committed a serious crime, but that's not going to get you in the house. And that's the point, right? That's the Peyton case, John.
Yep. Yeah. Severity of the crime doesn't allow entry. You need exigency. You need to have a reason to go in there, and just to go in and arrest somebody isn't enough. And I mean, if we want a great example of that, why don't we just talk about that Colorado case, right?
Oh, is that the one with the taser?
Yeah, tased him in the genitals, and the dude fell back, whacked his head on a stool, had a stroke.
Yeah.
$7 million. Officer pled guilty to assault. Backup officer resigned.
So, John, I'm glad you actually brought that up, because did you actually show that video during the class? Is that why we're talking about this, or no?
No, we didn't show that one.
You're all call-ins tonight, Anthony. We've been rolling. We're getting out coins like crazy tonight.
No, nice. So, The one thing, John, I want to kind of use as a touching off point or whatever, that's kind of, or leaping off point, is that a lot of cops do believe, okay, that if a person answers the door and they open the door to the police, if they have probable cause to arrest that person, no arrest warrant, okay, purely probable cause, that because they open the door, they're now in plain view. Mike, is that how you look at it?
I was like, you reach in there, you want to grab them so badly. They're just right there, huh? But they're
They're
inside
right there. They're yeah, but they're 4 feet. They are past. They're inside their castle, 3 feet inside their castle. But Mike, you understand though, they've opened the door to the police.
Oh,
Can we grab them? Yes or no?
No body snatching.
No body snatching. Okay. Kenneth, did we answer your question?
Well, I just wanted to follow up a little bit on the angle that I was going with on the evidence was, let's say, for example, that you have suspicion that the suspect may have blood on his hands or other type of wounds. Let's just go with blood, for example.
Okay.
Is that an exigency that he could like wash that off and destroy that evidence?
Okay, I have my answer. John, you want to take a stab at this one? Why don't you go first, John? Let's hear what the
I don't think it's gonna fly, and I think that courts are gonna look at that and say that you are using that as like subterfuge. You're using that for an investigatory purpose. Is it necessary?
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, you gotta do you. What are your prosecutors like, right? If you say to me that based on her with physical injury, her calling 911, I got evidence of the crime out there on the ground. If you're telling me that that's not going to be enough and your prosecutor's not going to go forward with that unless you get him like literally red-handed, well, then your prosecutor damn well better be okay with you forcing entry into somebody's home, into that place that has the highest level of Fourth Amendment protection under this circumstance. If they're not okay with that, then
Man.
yeah.
I mean, pure poetry. And the thing is, you know, Kenneth, I got to say that push comes to shove, there's probably an exigency argument there. I just don't think in 2023 it's really worth it, because if the guy gets shot and killed over this argument or over this entry, is it really, did you really need, actually, that's what I like about what John said, you know, did you need it? Like, do you need this for your case? If the answer is no, it's not worth it. Yeah, it might help and it might even, you know, take some pictures, but it's just not worth it. The guy, you know, getting lead poisoning over this and costing your agency $3 million when really just go get that warrant.
Okay, thank you very much.
Dennis,
Yep.
only
Yeah, you're
last
welcome.
question I had.
Sure, you email Rick.
Are you concerned about him at all? Do you think he's injured? Do you think she shanked him a couple times? Is the blood all hers?
I don't know.
Okay. If you're, you know, you knock on the door, nobody answers. She says, yeah, no, this is all mine. He beat me up. I don't know. I think
Actually,
that's arguably a better argument for emergency aid.
Actually, that is actually a really good argument. If you and you have to kind of believe it too, right? It should be objectively reasonable. But actually, that's a good angle right there, John. Is that yeah, you're right. She could be lying to you and like, oh, I'm the victim, but the guy is non-responsive. He's not even answering the door, and she says he's in there. A reasonable person would probably answer the door and be like, yeah, you know, or at least you know he's home. That's
Right.
good. Sean says she'd be a stone cold killer.
Right.
Like,
All
like
right, I
Sean's
like that.
ex.
Vomited him.
Look, now Kenneth is gonna go back. He's like, all right, boys, we're in. It's like,
That's right.
he's sitting on that call right now.
I am, absolutely. That's where I'm at.
All right, brother.
Hey, Darren, that question always comes up, that shall arrest or must arrest, you know, primary aggressor must be arrested. Same thing, like we threw out there, the Peyton case just kind of originated there. You know, he was a murderer, and that's for most of the time, that's a shall arrest or a must arrest type thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't factor into the constitutional intrusion, honestly.
Yeah, actually, you're the way I look at it is that your legislature cannot make a law that says that you shall do something that actually violates the Constitution. And there are a lot of pre-Peyton laws out there. Actually, Arizona has a few on the books that are written in a way that seem to tell you to do something that contradicts the Fourth Amendment or cases. And you look at it, it's like, oh, the case was passed in 1971. Peyton came in what, 1981, whatever it was. But the point is, read your statutes in line with the case law, the stuff that we're teaching you here.
Yep. Yeah, Arizona full on, still on the books, has a statute that says if you have PC for a felony arrest, any felony arrest, and you are denied entry, you can make entry to make that arrest.
Yes, yes. Actually, that's very common, John, around the country. A lot of, and you wonder why the legislature has not really updated the laws. I don't know why. I always wonder that myself, but that's a very good example.
Isn't that where Peyton started? Didn't they have a New York statute that allowed that entry? And then
Well, actually, that's what Peyton was a statutory right to enter the home based on a serious felony. But we also have to remember that Arizona is the home of the worst case law in the union. So it doesn't surprise me that they have shitty statutes that have not been updated, because you guys love Miranda, you know, Arizona versus Edwards and Arizona versus Gant. You guys have a long, proud history of violating people's rights.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, we want to give authority to the police officers to catch criminals.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you guys are pro. Yeah, exactly. You don't believe in hug a thug over there. Who else we have on deck?
I don't know. We had other hands. We had other hands. All right. Is it rain?
Are you here in the morning, Anthony? Like
Am I
early?
available in the morning?
Oh,
Yeah,
are you like-
I'm at your age. I'm at your agency at 6 a.m. So it's gonna be a long night for me. I don't get in until midnight, and I have to teach at 6.
I might try to swing by early, check it out.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Right? The new
Huh?
version. The newer
Yeah, the
stuff?
new version. Yeah.
Justin, you got anything for us?
You're on the love line.
Scott or Sean, how's that 3D printing coming along? We got that flask ready to go for marketing. So here's the deal, Anthony. You buy the whiskey, right, Sean, and you get the book. So it's a combo deal now. You get Blue to Gold whiskey comes with the book now. So
Ooh, that is good.
like sales.
We're gonna put some. So Belliston's mic doesn't work, but we're gonna do some whiskey. We're gonna do some like 100 proof. You know what I mean? Just like light it up. Look at John's operation. I mean, what kind of shit's disappearing and half his body's gone? I mean, you're not taking this seriously, John? I mean, is this your green room?
He was in the woods earlier. It was awesome.
God, I tell you, he's such a young guy, and he's ex-SWAT and blah blah blah. But man, you're technically inept, huh?
I had the Aurora Borealis going.
Yeah, that was
right?
awesome.
God, I mean, we're trying to be a class act over here, and you're like making a mockery of Blue to Gold, and your hair's half green.
Oh, hey, listen, I got this green screen back here. All right. I did that for Richard. I needed Richard to be happy, right?
He ain't happy. I can tell you right now. I heard from Richard. He ain't happy about your operation.
I got the lights, I got the mic, I got the green screen. He is never satisfied.
No, he's a perfectionist,
Holds us to a high standard around here. That's for damn sure.
All right, hey, look, Belliston, you want to call me, and I'll put you on speaker. Why don't you call me, Belliston? Ready? Here, let me. Hey, Rick, give Belliston my cell phone. Let's put them on speakerphone. Okay. Stop picking. Look at my mother's jumping in now.
That's right.
Jesus Christ. What's
She's been with us.
All right, I got you, Belliston. Hold on. Let's get this. Does anybody else in the meantime want to get on the love line and ask a question?
We got more on the thing too if we need them. We got
More
more
what? People?
We're good rolling.
All right.
It's almost dinner time, just so you guys know.
All right, let's do. So we might not be able to. All right, look. We need to have a Blue to Gold. Actually, Sean, I'm actually working on that. It's obviously harder to do that than it is. All right. So let's do one more. What do you got? Who wants to? Belliston, I'm sorry, but the mic doesn't work. Let's do one more and then we'll call it a day. I can get back to my Delta Lounge.
Yeah. Do we want this one or do we want Belliston to type it up?
No, Bellis, we have to have audio. Unfortunately, for this show, we have to have audio. So beat it. No, I'm joking.
So, Wisconsin officer. Question is this. Can you search a person suspected of being in possession of a lost or stolen device? Reporting party reported losing her cell phone, but also suspected that a certain person may have stolen it. So we got a suspect identified. The
Mhm.
RP followed up with me the following day and was able to use the find my phone/device feature and ping the phone to an intersection where I was able to make contact with the suspect who was on foot, who admitted to finding the RP's cell phone and was in the process of returning it. My
Mhm.
question is, had the suspect not admitted to having the phone or device, AirPods, iPad, whatever, right? And the phone continues pinging in that area, is that PC to search the subject without a warrant due to their mobility? What if the suspect was in a vehicle or residence?
Okay.
Okay.
A lot going on.
All right.
there.
That's a good question. All right.
Mhm.
What do you think, John? And this comes up and Mike, maybe you have some input on this, but this comes up all the time.
Okay. So first things first, suspect does not admit to having the phone. That is PC to search the it's PC to arrest the subject. That's how I'm going to play it.
Well, look, here's the deal, okay? Right, Mike? If we can arrest that person, if we have the probable cause because it's pinging and other things, I've had this case before, a situation where a homeless person, picked up a phone from a bathroom. I don't know why anyway, but the point is that I detained the person. They're not going anywhere. I had the friend kind of like call the phone and it rang in the guy's pocket. That's the easiest case, right? But let's say you have the PC. Let's just say you had the PC. It's pinging. There's nobody else around, and your iPhone is saying it's right there. And in this situation though, it's a misdemeanor. It's a citation and release. What are you gonna do in that situation?
Okay, so now we're changing my facts, and you're
Yep.
in one of these states where you can't arrest people for crimes. You have to give them a ticket and let them go.
That's right.
Say, please don't do this again.
Yes.
Naughty.
You're in Washington State.
Oh well, don't even take me there. What color is the person in Washington State?
Well, before you say that, that's a very loaded statement you just said there. Please tell people what you mean by that,
What
so
I
they
mean
might
by
get
that
confused.
is everywhere I teach, I say it could be worse, guys. You could be a law enforcement officer in the state of Washington. Palisum is my case. P-A-L.
No.
Yeah.
No. Oh yeah. Oh no. Okay, go on. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, Palisum, right?
Mhm.
And basically what the Washington Supreme Court came out and said is when you are conducting a analysis on whether a citizen and officer interaction is a detention or a consensual encounter, the person's race is a factor to be considered because of the extensive and endemic history of racism in law enforcement. A subject's race is absolutely a factor to determine whether it's as a consensual encounter or a seizure, meaning you can have the exact same fact pattern where an officer walks up to one kind of person, one type of person based solely on the color of their skin, exact same fact pattern, and it's a consensual encounter. You change their skin color and it's a seizure under the Fourth Amendment or under the Washington.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Horrifying.
yeah. So
Horrifying.
it's crazy. It is. It's so John, you're not going to be seized. Mike is probably going to be seized. It's just that it's crazy that a person's skin color could even. I mean, we're doing our job. We're being professional. We're just talking to people. We have no idea what this person's background is, and nor does it matter in 49 different states because it's based on objective reasonableness, not subjective reasons. What that person thinks. It's absolutely incredible. So, it sucks, but let's move back to our question. So
Makes me sick. Makes me sick.
it makes me sick. No, it's absolutely disgusting that actually who the racists are the judges. They assume that a person of color is scared of the police. That's a racist actually statement, quite frankly. I mean, they're making a judgment of that person without any facts. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's how I look at it. All right. All right. So back to the the question here. So here's how I look at this. Okay. First of all, I've only found one state in the union that has ever said that if you have probable cause for somebody that has evidence on their person, that you cannot recover the evidence under some rationale. Okay. And that state is Maryland. they just don't like it. They want and it's not even really that clear clip, but they seem to want the arrest no matter what. Okay, but every other state that have looked into this issue has justified this intrusion on various grounds. And let me just kind of go through them. One is exigency. If the guy has the phone on him and you're not going to make the arrest, what they're saying is, well, if you're not going to make the arrest, by definition, they have to leave, right? So when you make them leave, are they ever going to bring that phone back to court? You're going to lose that evidence. I think I see this in a lot of shoplifting incidents. The next justification that I see is that it's basically an arrest and a release. Colorado, I saw that case have that. Like they said, hey, basically it's like it's a not what they call it, a non-custodial arrest. I don't really like that one too much personally, but I've seen that. The next one I've seen is that, look, if you could have arrested him, this is those states where you could have arrested him, but you choose not to arrest him, then why not give the cops the option to do the lesser intrusion, which is to seize the evidence and let them go? And finally, just overall reasonableness, right? You have a person on the sidewalk. It's going to take about 2 hours to get a warrant. Why isn't it reasonable just to grab this evidence, cite them, and kick them loose? I don't look, if the courts say that you cannot recover that evidence, then they're saying that you need a warrant. And they're basically saying a lot of people are going to get arrested or detained in the back of a police car for 2 hours. I don't think courts are really, that's a big move, right? That's a big move.
Let me ask you this, Anthony. Is it a full-blown search or is it a little more specific and targeted?
Yeah, it's definitely. So this is the case on point. Well, not the case on point. The case the seminal case is Murphy versus Cupp, or it might be Cupp versus Murphy. John can correct me, but it's Murphy versus Cupp, where an officer had probable cause that this guy Cupp had evidence of a murder under his fingernails. They grabbed the evidence of not the DNA because it's the 70s, but they grabbed the blood evidence and the fibers and they let him go. The U.S. Supreme Court said that was exigency, but it's a very tailored search. This is not a search incident to arrest. But I can tell you this: if you are in the situation and you can arrest the person, okay, the law allows you to arrest them with discretion. Here's what you should do: ask them for their consent. If they say no, hook them up and just take them to jail. That's what I would do. But if you are in a state that doesn't allow the arrest, like Nevada, in many of these cases, then I am teaching to do it, but argue exigency. That's what I would do, because I think you have exigency. Otherwise, the court is going to say, hold these dudes for 2 hours in 115-degree heat in the middle of summer while you get a warrant. I don't think that's reasonable either. John, that's how I'm looking at it, but we don't have a case from a very high level. Like, we definitely don't have a Supreme Court case besides Cupp that talks about the shoplifting evidence or the phone.
Right. The issue is we're going to run into this idea of search incident to citation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, and I mean, some courts have said that that's okay, right? If in certain prescribed circumstances, like your shoplifting example, right?
Yeah.
Is it California that says like you can search incident to a cite and release if the person is told, like it occurs under facts that an objectively reasonable person would understand that they are subject to arrest, or they understand what's happening? I don't know. It's these lower state court levels. But yeah, nothing high that we can rely on across the board. But we do know you can't search incident to citation. It has to be search incident to custodial arrest if that's what you're relying on.
Well, can I clarify that though, John? I think that yes, that is true, because that's Ohio, Iowa versus Knowles, right? But I don't quite know that's really the way that the training point is. No, there's no search incident to citation. If you look at, Wayne Lefebvre, he does talk about some situations where there was a search incident citation, like the situation we're talking about here. In Knowles, that was a purely, we can arrest. There's no evidence of the crime, which was speeding, but we could arrest for speeding in Iowa. The cop chose to not necessarily arrest the person, search first, decide later, right? I don't know if we really go to court and say, this is exactly the same. This is a search incident citation. This is a search based on exigency or lesser intrusion. I mean, I guess we're saying the same thing, but you could maybe search by issuing a citation if you have evidence or piece it the person has evidence on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interest. It's got to get resolved eventually, right? It's one
Yeah.
of these things I find it fascinating because it's one of these things that's like everybody does it.
Everybody does it.
Everybody does it because it needs to happen. Practically, it just makes
Yeah.
sense, right? We
Yep.
cite and release
Yep.
shoplifters. They've got property on them. I'm taking it off of them. It's just happening.
Yeah.
And so we don't really get challenged on it. So there isn't case law on it.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's try to get Ballaston on for our last question. I have to go and catch my flight to Vegas. So what we got? So Ballaston, hit the there we go. What we got?
You got me?
I got you, my friend.
Awesome. Hey,
How do you say your first name, by the way? How do you say your first name?
Ren, like Ren and Stimpy.
Ren. Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Yep.
Love the show. Watch a lot of it. We've got a meeting with our county attorney coming up here soon, and we've been having a lot of issue with constructive possession charges being kicked out. Recently just had a case where we recovered an ounce of meth that was where the driver was or the owner of the vehicle was arrested for the possession, and they were also the registered owner of the vehicle. We articulated a bunch of behavioral factors, a bunch of inconsistent statements made, try to go on why there was a nexus to that driver of the vehicle being in that constructive possession. The drugs were found in the back pocket of the driver's seat, so directly behind or directly in front of the rear passenger. But just trying to figure out if this is a trend that's kind of going on across the country, or if there's some arguments that we can make, case law stuff that we can bring up for our meeting.
Yep.
To help us with these issues.
This is where what state are you in before we?
Wyoming.
Oh, okay. In Washington, they actually give you an ounce of meth. So that would just make a difference. What do you guys think? I mean, I have some thoughts on this, but what do you guys think?
I think you hit a couple of points there that we like to talk about. He talks about nexus. He talks about, access and proximity. He talks about being the driver, the owner of the vehicle. So say your name, Ren, right?
Ren.
Yeah, Ren. Yep. Ren
so-
Steppy. Yep.
That's the key in there, is that constructive possession is, did they have access, dominion, control over it now or in the future? Or in the past, and tell us why, give us all those becauses. And we talk about something called NERDS, not because it's a sweet acronym that we got around here, but talk about, nervousness, evasive conduct, reactions to things, deception, or specifics. So, you look in, again, we talked about earlier, the totality of the circumstances, what's going on, what are all these different factors that you can use to say that, this guy has dominion or control over this, to show that constructive possession. Relevant things, maybe prior arrests, and not just nervousness, but abnormal nervousness. He was abnormally nervous because some of these really key factors that you need to articulate and show and really build. I like that word you used, build that word, that nexus, and convince your prosecutors, convince your judges of why it's reasonable to think that this guy had control over that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, just real quick, we articulated a lot of that stuff. We had a lot of behavioral attributes on this, and because of the issues we've been having, we even in more detail than we normally would have, because we wanted this one to stick. We've got a case that the county attorney's been citing, Reagan versus Wyoming. It was a constructive possession case. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but it was a guy going around making deliveries, drug deliveries, but it was the front passenger and drugs were in the trunk. The driver claimed that he didn't knowingly possess or know what his front passenger was doing, and the Wyoming State Supreme Court said, he didn't knowingly possess, so he kicked it. And ever since then, since our county attorney's got a hold of this, they've been arguing, Reagan versus Wyoming. Essentially they're arguing that constructive possession's dead.
Yeah, I think. Well, no, I mean, look, I think John's looking up something too. And John, you have something?
No, the only thing I would say is talk to your prosecutor and ask him what you're missing, right? say, help me grow as an officer. What can I do? You know, how do you want constructive possession? Because it sounds like you're doing it.
And also, this is actually what a good example of joint possession. You said that there's a person in the back seat, right?
There was actually 4 people in the vehicle. We had the driver, who was the registered owner, the front right passenger, the rear right passenger, and a juvenile male in the middle rear seat. But nobody was sitting directly behind the driver.
Well, but if you were asked the question of why didn't you charge the passenger in the rear, the adult at least, because they had probably the most direct access to the map pocket, what's your answer?
So we'd gone to the residence to make contact, and nobody was there. We actually saw them drive up to the residence, and we were maintained visual of all the occupants of the vehicle, and we never seen the rear passenger reach over towards that rear driver pocket.
I mean, that might be, yeah, but just you're implying that they went to a known drug house.
It's unknown where they had it.
Oh, I see. They just left the
Originally.
house. Well, I mean,
Yeah, they left the house and they were returning to the house, and they didn't know we were there. They see us driving down the street. We get statements like, "Oh crap, the cops are here," and some nervous behavior inside the vehicle, where there was admittance of passing of meth pipe, but no admittance of the actual ounce of meth that was in a locked storage container behind the driver's seat.
Well, when you say locked, mean like a combination or a key?
Yeah, like a little combination, little lockbox.
How'd you guys get into that?
It was unlocked.
Oh, okay. So look, first of all, we all agree here that you had probable cause, right? If probable cause is fair probability that the driver is in on it, right? But when it comes to beyond reasonable doubt, right, which is what your prosecutor's looking for beyond reasonable doubt, he doesn't care about probable cause. He cares about, barred, right? Beyond reasonable doubt. So you have to basically be like, there's no alternative, a reasonable alternative to the conviction, right? To the charge. I think you're doing a good job, but I do have concerns, obviously, that the back passenger is the closest to that narcotics. It's not really a place where drivers put their narcotics. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. Usually it's a little closer to them. And you said they were passing around the pipe. Are you talking about the rear passenger also agrees or admits that they were passing around that pipe?
So the rear passenger sitting next to the juvenile, he told us that the driver actually handed him a meth pipe because they couldn't get caught with it. So he took possession of the meth pipe, put it in his pocket. But I mean, even behavior like she was on her phone the whole time, and she got out of the vehicle, said she had locked her keys in the vehicle, and then when push came to shove, she still had the keys in her pocket and unlocked the truck because she knew a K9 was coming. And
oh, really? This is the driver.
The driver, yeah. And then while we were waiting for K9, she tried to walk away from the vehicle, walk away from the scene. So there was a lot of behavioral stuff to make us believe it was the driver.
There's a lot going on.
Man, there's a lot of nerds going on there. What you really need to do is call your prosecutor first thing in the morning and give him John's phone number and let John talk to this prosecutor, because look, that's a good case to at least try to plead. I mean, there is, right, John? I mean, this screams guilty mind, right, John? I mean, why let this an ounce of this ain't 2 grams. Look, this is also a good example, Rin, about people matter in this business. We talk about this in our classes where we can't control judges, we can't control prosecutors. There's prosecutors that are out there with 3 weeks of experience. They don't understand what you mean when you say this and that. But I can tell you that if I was your prosecutor, based on what you're telling me, I would definitely take this case and I would at least try to, push it and take it to the mat. There's a few holes in it, but not enough for me to actually dismiss it. John Pepperdine.
It sounds solid to me. Ren, I'm gonna plug it. Do you have our bulletproof report writing book?
I do not.
All right, you should buy it. It talks about constructive possession, goes down, there's a checklist. It's valuable stuff, man. I tell you.
Yeah, because
Yeah, like I said, establish that good relationship with your prosecutor as much as possible. And the way that I always approached it when I was trying to get feedback from a prosecutor was say, hey, like I want to learn, right? Come at it from a place of humility. Even if you think they're
Yes.
Even if you think they're just
Wrong.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Say, hey, I want to understand, right? Like I want to grow. What did you need that you didn't have here? And so I can make sure that I look for that in the future.
All right. So, Ren, send your address. Can you send, can people send email or chats to a particular person can you? So, well, Rick, actually email richard@bluetogold.com. Rick will put his email in there. He'll send you the book for free. And then Rick will also put the link for other people to buy it so we can feed our families around here. But we'll give the book for free because I really appreciate you coming on. It's a great example. But I'll also tell you that I haven't read Reagan, but I'm pretty much guessing that it's probably in line with a lot of those construction possession cases. And it's all about how are you proving this? It's this is the main part. How are you proving intent to possess? And I can tell you that every state practically, but every state talks about mere presence around contraband is not enough. That may be what Reagan is kind of talking about, is that, hey, just being around is not enough. You have to prove this. I think you did a good job personally, but people matter in this business. All right. Nice job. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. John, I really appreciate you guys attending today and doing the webinar, and Mike, I appreciate doing the show. I think this is great. I'm glad I got an opportunity to join you guys. Maybe we should do this more often.
Like it.
Yeah. All right. You're welcome, Phil. Hey, I got to go, Rick. Anything else? John, anything else before we sign off?
Nope. I think we're all good.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.